What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts for the Real Fan Review, or with the Real Fan Review. With me today, I got my brother B.
What's going on, everybody?
We got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
And we messed up Sanjay's schedule recording on a Monday. So we'll get Sanjay back hopefully next weekend when we record on Sunday like normal. But this week, guys, we're just going to talk about a couple of things there because there wasn't a lot of news in the last week. And there's some things coming out this week that's amazing. So we got the Snyder Cut coming out this week. We'll get you up to date on what's going on in that story to not confuse you with the DCEU stories. Because remember, this Snyder Cut is what came after the Man of Steel and I believe Batman v Superman. So we'll just talk about a prep work for that. And then we're going to get you ready for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which starts this Friday on Disney Plus, which is going to be exciting. It's following up to WandaVision. So I don't know if Feige's going to step it up. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And the most important bit of news that we got this past week was unfortunately some sad news for us MCU fans, but I'm sure we're going to fix this. Avengers End Game, one of the highest grossing movies, was just surpassed by who they passed on the way up. I believe it's Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar, was re-released in China, and they got the 9 million that they needed, man. So they got the re-release, and you know they're going to do another re-release over here once things get back to normal before Avatar 2 comes out. So my question to you, Al, is what are we going to do to get Avengers back up there, man?
Well, they got to re-release it, but this was like I don't know. I think it was a marketing ploy, to your point, because Avatar 2 is coming out next year. What is it, next year, the year after? So I think
It's
this
supposed to be
was
like
to
December
build up the.
sometime. Yeah, December this year or next year.
Because Disney owns both of them, so I mean they're making money either way. So to me, this was just shuffling the board for them so that they can have their next big movie come out and be the top, say the sequel to the top grossing movie of all time, and have marketing terms. And then when the next Avengers movie is going to come out, they'll do the same thing for Endgame.
It's a ploy. How about you, Brandon? Man? What's your take on that, man?
Re-release it again for the third time. We just do it every time they pass each other. Just keep re-releasing.
You know what? We're gonna call this the Nomad cut. They're just gonna put Nomad in the big fighting scene at the end. They gotta do something, man. I mean, listen, Avengers Endgame to me kind of earned it, but at the same time, when you think about money back in 2020 or 2019, whoa, Jesus, 2020, I wish, but 2019 Avengers Endgame compared to what I think Avatar came out in 2000, 2005.
Yeah, it was
around there, right? 2008.
Yeah, it was around sometime like that. But
no.
when you compare the value of a dollar at that time period, it's and even Titanic. So forget it. Titanic should be the real number one, but
now actually, I think when you account for inflation, Gone with the Wind is the biggest grossing movie when you factor in inflation and everything.
Now, I always wondered for you guys, like, there's a lot of people who talk about like the amount of money these movies make. Does that ever mean anything to you guys as far as like the money that these makes? Like, I know it's like surprising and like a wow thing. Like, wow, Avengers Endgame it made $1 billion in the first weekend, that's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But do those things matter to you guys?
Not really. I mean, for me, like, I don't really care that Titanic was like #1 for a long time, Like, I don't really care. I think it's cool to get like those kind of numbers, like, to hear that Endgame surpassed $1 billion in its first weekend. Like, that kind of like affirms for me, like, people love Marvel and that people will go to see a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I think that's what it really affirms for me. Like, I know that Titanic came out like before Valentine's Day, one of those years, right? So like, I'm sure that was the grossing movie because every couple in the world had to go see it. But like, I don't care about that. For me, I think it's really cool to see how dedicated fans are to going out just like us on the first opening night, seeing the first movie, being the ones to review it, being the ones to talk about it. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. How about you, Al?
Yeah, same thing. I really don't care about the sales or whatever. it could be the lowest selling movie. If I think there's an interest for me, I'll go watch it. So to me, it's just like we were saying before, it's just a marketing ploy, something for them to put in the commercials. But to the fans, they're gonna go see it. Yeah, like even if say Black Widow comes out, and I doubt this is going to be the case, but it doesn't sell, we're all still going to go watch it. I don't care how many ticket sales.
Oh yeah,
kid.
Yeah,
so
probably watch it twice.
Yeah.
Watch it twice in theaters as well. Absolutely, man. Yeah, and like I said, there was really no news except your boy Hob actually copped the PlayStation 5. Woo!
Nice.
That's the big entertainment news of the week. After 4 months and 5 months of searching, waiting for Best Buy. But back to the movie stuff. So I mean, there was no real big news. Like again, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier starting on Friday, and also the Snyder Cut. So let's get into those preparations for those things, because even for ourselves, it's nice to look back and see where these characters are coming from and where they might be headed in these stories. So with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out on Friday, B, what's your take on how you've seen, I guess Falcon and Bucky from the start till now, as far as their journey? I mean, let's talk about the actors themselves. Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie, great actors. We've seen them in plenty of other movies.
Love them, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your thoughts on those two guys?
Actors aside, like I think the actors are great. I think they just like Chris Evans, because we've seen him in mostly Captain America movies. I feel like just like Chris Evans, they embody the role. I kind of feel bad for Anthony Mackie, like he had to be the Falcon, of all things. Like I feel like when you first hear the Falcon, you're like, oh, all right, that's cool. That's all right. Like no one really is like hyped about seeing the Falcon as hype as you are about hearing about Thor and Hulk. So like I feel like I felt so bad when he like came in. I'm like, it's not a lot of love. It's not a lot of love. But he personifies the role well. He plays it well. I love the sarcasm. Yeah. I love that, even as we get introduced to the Falcon in the Winter Soldier movie, how they have their relationship with Cap, building their friendship with Cap, and he being like their go-to guy, he being their best friend in a sense,
Right.
Obviously Bucky for the literal sense, and Falcon becomes his best friend, and seeing how they build that relationship with him, and as they don't have that relationship with the other Avengers, like he's kind of their guy, and if Cap isn't around, who are they going to talk to other than I guess each other, so I feel like this series did a good spin on that, because like I wouldn't see the Winter Soldier talking with anybody else or hanging out with anybody else.
Right.
Like, yeah, he was in Wakanda for a little bit, but like even then he seemed like the lone wolf, so he was by himself kind of to recover. So like I think it was a smart move to take the guys who had the same friend and the friend is not here anymore and see how they're now going to communicate with each other when they're really all they have.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, for me, like my history with those actors as far as movies go, I remember seeing Anthony Mackie in the 8 Mile movie about Eminem, or with Eminem in it as well, and he was Papa Doc, I think it was, and he was the guy that was versing Eminem, and it's just, I love that movie for the simple rap of the I guess the rap fighting with each other, or I forgot what it's called at the moment, but when they were doing that rap battles there, it was it was cool to see Anthony Mackie in that character. I've also seen, since the MCU, I've seen Anthony Mackie in Detroit and a couple of other movies that he's been in. It's pretty good. I mean, I know he has a movie called Outside the Wire on Netflix that came out this year that I haven't had the chance to see, but it's definitely on my list. As for Sebastian Stan, my only recollection of him was Hot Tub Time Machine. So I don't really recall anything else that I've seen him in. But, I remember him being funny in Hot Tub Time Machine. So that's about it. Now, how about yourself, Al? What's your history with these actors? Like, what do you recognize them from or know them from or anything like that?
Like you said, Sebastian Stan, not much. I don't remember him from much else. I mean, there was a big rumor he was going to take over the Luke Skywalker role. So that'd be interesting, because when they do this side by side, he actually does kind of look like a young Mark Hamill. But Anthony Mackie, he's been in quite a few things. Outside the Wire, I started catching that. He was in the, I want to say third season of a show I was watching on Netflix, Altered Carbon. Did a good job there. He's been in a couple of other movies that I've watched where he I'm glad he's stepping outside because he was always playing like the gangster drug dealer role in a couple of the movies I was watching back to back. So I was afraid he might be casting himself as a role. So I'm glad that he stepped out of that and is taking on other roles and other characters and character types. Um, but to B's point, like you've only ever seen them in the Marvel movies with Cap. Like they would never by themselves. And in real life, you sometimes when two people meet each other through a common friend, you take that common friend out of the picture, and sometimes there's like awkward silence. They don't know how to interact with each other when that friend's not around. So it'll be interesting to see how they build their relationship now that he's not in the picture. It seems like it's going to be a cool one. They got a good dynamic. So I want to see that relationship build over the course of the series.
Yeah, I mean, just judging off of the trailers themselves, and by the way, I'm done with trailers. They had too many this weekend. There was like 5 trailers that came out, so but it just seems like they have that back and forth banter of like friends but not friends. Also, is just so weird. But it does come across very funny because you saw some of that play out in some of the movies as well, and we'll get into that in a few. But let's start off, Brandon, right from the beginning with Captain America, the first one, the first Avenger, and I believe that's where we first met Bucky in that movie, right? That's Bucky's introduction into the story, and I think that they just kind of showed, I guess, Bucky being a good person, helping out Steve Rogers, because I think at this point Steve Rogers was still scrawny little Steve Rogers trying to join the military.
Yeah. So with that movie, this was before Steve transformed, so Bucky was in the military already, and he was getting all the attention and all that stuff. And so I forget the group that they made, once Steve became Captain America.
He's the Howling Commandos.
The Howling Commandos, yes. Bucky found himself on the Howling Commandos, and I that actually was my favorite part of Captain America: The First Avenger, just because like it was cool to see Cap grow in like notoriety, because like before he was actually doing big missions, he was kind of just playing the stage, right? Like they had him just being Captain America for the stage and doing all this and that.
Right.
And then when they actually started using him,
savings bonds.
Yeah, selling savings bonds. After they started actually using him, to see that kind of sequence of him on the motorcycle, working with the Howling Commandos, up until he gets on the train with Bucky. And I don't know if you want me to stop there, but that's it. I love this movie because it set up a lot of foreshadowing. So they're in the train fighting some Hydra soldiers. I don't know if they're in Russia at this point, right?
I believe so. They were in the train in Russia.
And I love that they're fighting together. And at one point,
Russia or Germany?
Was it Germany? Because it was icy, so I don't know. I think snows Russia all the time. But that point where Cap loses his shield for a second and Bucky picks it up. It's like oh. We get that little Easter egg there for when Winter Soldier becomes Captain America for a little bit. So it was a nice little nod, and then Bucky gets knocked out the train.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, all right, did him dirty real quick,
Right. And mind you, we all didn't know that the Winter Soldier was something they were going to go into. It's just, I didn't think at that time, we didn't look into like contracts or like, oh, he's going to come back in another movie. I was like, oh, they just killed that guy off. Huh? Like, it's just...
Unknown actor number 1.
And Al, if I'm correct, was it Sebastian Stan? I'm not Sebastian Stan. I'm sorry, Bucky. He was captured and Cap had to go rescue him at first. That's the reason why he joined the military, right? Or he forced himself onto the military.
No, I don't know if it was that why he joined. I know that's why he went into one of the missions, was because they had been captured and nobody was going in to get them. So that's when he broke off those stage routines and actually went to go save them. Mm-hmm. But that's when they introduced that whole line that's been carried through a couple of the movies, where they say don't do anything stupid, and he says, how can I? You're taking all the stupid with you. So they say that from when Bucky first goes on, and they say those lines to one another, and they've just kept it going all the way till Endgame. So it was good seeing them both, seeing Bucky get introduced, seeing that the development of the history, that he was always a good friend to Steve, and just that history that got built up. And to your point, like, you thought he was done, and then he was gone after that scene in the train, and to see that became then a further motivation for him to be the Captain America and to be the person he became.
Yeah,
that was a
absolutely.
long fall too. Like they showed him all the way down. Like
Yeah, How- that must be some soft snow down there.
That's that Russian snow, you know.
That Russian stuff. You guys are crazy, man. Yeah, man. And then we don't hear anything from Bucky for a couple of movies there. And not for nothing, man. People kind of sleep on that first Captain America movie, man. That was pretty good. Even though it was like a time, like a peace movie, like a period movie there. But it was really good, actually, man. Captain America, man,
Yeah.
first Avenger. People sleep on that one, man. It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
And from there, Bucky, we don't see Bucky until I believe it's the Winter Soldier, which was absolutely amazing. Captain America: The Winter
Favorite.
Soldier was one of the best movies in the MCU. Definitely in the top half of movies for MCU. And I really don't think it was much of a mystery that it was Bucky. Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah, we all kind of like, wait a minute.
Once
can't
the
fool me with
trailer
those
came, we're
short
like,
guys.
oh shit, he's back, unnamed actor number 1. That's when he became Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, man. I mean, so we got Bucky back in the Winter Soldier there, and also we met Falcon in the beginning of that movie, and I think that's one of Al's favorite scenes there is the jogging and on your left.
On the left. Yeah.
Oh.
He says it to him like how many times?
You
Like,
just ran 13 miles in 13 minutes.
I think he called
doesn't
him,
even
like,
go,
Captain Struck
come
for the
on.
last. Yeah, there is one where he's like, come on. He just chases him. How annoying on your left.
I would have tripped him right there. Put one foot out.
But it was really cool to see that's how they built that relationship. There's just from that early morning workout. I guess Steve seeing his dedication to working out that early in the morning and doing the same thing he's doing. Just Cap's doing it a little bit better. Super soldier serum, but we see that the French
Mackie was
starts to build from
recovering
there.
too, right?
He was I
Wasn't
think
he recovering.
I don't know if he was recovering, but he was helping people heal from people who lost friends or having trauma from war. And I think in his story was that he was sent out and he lost one of his wingmen. He says, and he invites Cap to come to one of his lectures or one of his meetings, just so that he could see the people and the people could see him as well, knowing that Captain America is a big famous person at this time with the soldiers and everything. And I love the character that they built with each other. That rapport and that just the friendship that you could see starting to build there, the trust that he had in them. And at first, Falcon was off to the side. And I think what happened was, if I'm correct, Natasha and Steve were out on a mission and they figured out that Hydra was involved, or there was definitely people spying on them because they had quote unquote killed Nick Fury there. And they went into hiding, and the only place they could go to was Falcon's apartment. And that was a great scene in itself. And then I remember one of the scenes saying, I think they found a folder for what Falcon used to do. He goes, I thought you said you were a pilot. He goes, I never said that. And one of the great scenes after that is, I think it's Natasha Romanoff and Steve Rogers on the top of a building with, I think it's Agent Sidwell. And this is the first time we see Falcon in his suit. And Al, what'd you think of Falcon's suit at that moment? I mean, it was kind of low tech, but it made sense, right?
Yeah. They didn't dress it up yet. Like it looked kind of, for what it became, it looked very basic for it. But I thought it was a cool concept, the way it worked, the way he used it. And it definitely was an interesting look for the character of Falcon. Because Falcon from the comics, I always see him with the actual wings and so forth. And, he came off comical, not to, no pun intended, but he seemed comical, at least to me, in the comics. So to see him coming off this way, and a lot more serious, a lot more of a stronger character, I thought did him justice for what he was going to become in terms of the franchise.
Absolutely. And Brandon, what about you? What do you think of his suit and the glasses there?
I thought
And
it was appropriate, because they didn't get the chance to have costume upgrades and all this stuff. So to have like a military looking
yeah,
arsenal that goes on his
absolutely.
back, like just it looked real. It looked like, hey, I had this in my closet for some reason, but hey, it fits. Like, so I'll wear it. So I thought that was a really cool look, and obviously you knew that upon seeing it the first time that it was gonna get an upgrade later on if he's in any other movies. I
Absolutely,
was
man.
wondering to see if he actually got a bird pal though. That was the bird sidekick.
Yeah, soon enough, man. Soon enough. And then in this
Yeah.
one, man, we also again we get to see Bucky, but this time Bucky is definitely mind completely mind fucked, mind
Yeah.
warped and everything. And no one knows what's going on with him and why. And I think the first time we see him is one of the greatest action sets, which is when Bucky, I think Cap goes to chase him after Bucky just shot down Nick Fury, and they're chasing him
Mhm.
on the roof, and then you get that scene where Captain America throws the shield at him. Bucky catches it and throws it back. Amazing. Oh my God. It doesn't get better than that, man. It
Yeah,
really
man.
doesn't. That was so good.
I
But
love the car chase. The car chase
oh,
with Bucky and Nick Fury, that was insane.
oh my God.
Mhm.
Just nuts, man. And how about every time he showed up, that screeching music?
Yeah. I think they give him a good score, like because he was
Yeah.
intimidating looking, until
Hmm.
Mhm.
until like the end of the movie, he was really intimidating looking.
Yeah, when
Like,
they took this off, it looked
yeah,
weird. Like
he was like, oh, all right, we'll hit him in the face.
but they did it really well, those characters, man. I mean, and
Mhm.
even that entire like almost the ending of the fight that started off the bridge when they were on the highway. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
sick stuff, man. I mean, that was just amazing. You see Falcon and I think it was Falcon, Natasha, and Steve in a car, and the Winter Soldier was on top of it, ripping the hood off. just just absolutely insane. And when they stopped short, he
Yeah.
slid, but then he stopped himself with his hand.
Oh.
Oh my lord, dude,
That
so
last
good.
fight too in the falling airship.
Helicarrier.
Yeah, the helicarrier.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was like, they know they can die, right?
Yeah.
This don't end with them dying, right?
Oh my God. And the way that they used, Falcon's powers, I guess you could say, which is, his
Mhm.
flight skills and using that wingsuit. I mean, he was just the way that they used it was interesting. Like he would close it up to drop
Yeah.
down and then pick it back up to fly around. I remember one of the lines that he said to Cap was like, "You look heavier than you're heavier than you look." Like,
He's like, did I have breakfast today? Like,
yeah, he said I had breakfast. But a kind of interesting story, man. And then again, Captain America fighting Winter Soldier in the helicarrier to try to save him
Mhm.
was just kind of like crazy. Because you could see that Bucky kind of remembered him, but couldn't really do it. But
Mhm.
it took, Captain America to beat the shit out of him and them almost dying. And then he still wouldn't like. If I remember correctly, I think Captain was losing the fight, and then they almost drowned, and then Winter Soldier saved
Mhm.
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man,
And
such
then
good
flew
stuff.
off. Yeah.
Right? So I think he must have definitely got into his head somehow, some way, and everything. But then you get that closing thing with Falcon and Captain America. You can see that they're going to work together. He's not going to leave his side. They're going to do this together. He goes, so where are we going next? It's just like, oh.
Mhm.
And I think that after that Winter Soldier, I believe if I'm right, Brandon was saying that we saw them in Age of Ultron, or at least we saw Falcon in the Age of
Yeah.
Ultron. But just like kind of like little
Mhm.
spots, right? Nothing too
Yeah, he
crazy.
was in the party, and then he was at the end of the movie when they showed the new Avengers.
Yeah. And if I
Yeah. In
remember
the training
correctly, Al,
facility. Yeah.
did they say that while in the party in before Ultron actually showed up, it was him saying that he was still looking into finding where Bucky was, kind of thing, right? Insinuating that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I think that's what leads up to one of those end scenes where they finally find them. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And then
Not.
go for Al.
No, I was just gonna say it just shows the dynamic because you know that this is a sensitive search because not only is he wanted and everything, but that's Captain's friend. So it's how do you balance what you like his duty as a former military, as a soldier and everything, and he knows that this is somebody who he should be taking down, but at the same time he's honoring the fact that he's a friend of Caps, and so to show that he actually, went against what probably would have been a lot of other people's nature of saying, "No, we just got to bring him in,"
Yeah.
and said, "All right, I'll ride with you, and we'll help your friend out, even though I think he looked gone and beyond saving, that he
Still
still
doing it.
rode with him with like, all right, this is your friend, all right, I'll ride with you, and just bringing him in and looking for him, on our own."
Absolutely, man. It felt like just felt like this is the beginning of a great friendship. You know what I mean? Especially with
Yeah.
Falcon there, it was just amazing. And then we actually kind of see both of them again in small spots in Ant-Man, the next movie that came out of Age of Ultron. And this one caught me by surprise. I remember seeing Ant-Man with Brandon. I don't know, Al, were you there that day when we went to see it in the theaters, or was it just me and
I'm not
Brandon?
sure. Yeah,
That
I'm
was
not
a
sure. I
long
don't
time
remember.
ago now.
Yeah.
But I remember, we're seeing Ant-Man, and they said they have to steal some parts from the Avengers facility.
It was an
And,
abandoned warehouse in New Jersey.
and we were like, oh, we're gonna see one of the Avengers. Well, I don't know which one we're gonna see. We're gonna see one, and it ended up being Falcon. And it's just an amazing scene there. And I don't know if you recall everything from there, Brandon, but what do you remember from that scene there on that?
It was just, Falcon trying to stop Ant-Man from taking, I think it was like a battery or something like that. And, Ant-Man, I think this was like in the movie the first time Ant-Man actually like got control of his suit, like could use it well. And so he was just shaping in and out, going inside of Falcon's armor, dragging him around and stuff. And then trying to mess with the switches so that way he disappears and all that stuff. And it was a cool scene because like, Ant-Man's power, is even though he shrinks, he still has the strength of 5 people or whatever it was, and so he was kicking Falcon's ass from the size of an ant. And at the end of the fight, as Falcon loses him, he's just like, "Don't tell Steve about this."
Incredible, man. And Al, I think, besides the ending of Age of Ultron, this Ant-Man movies, we got a nice look at the new costume, the new look for the Falcon with the red and a little bit of white to kind of symbolize what the Falcon looked like in the comic books, but to like a nice extent. It was really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and he brings on a lot of his so I call them sidekicks, the birds that can act as his other eyes, and the weaponry he added to it, and the dynamic that it added to his his jetpack as a weapon on itself. So it just showed the variety and what he can bring to the table other than just flying around.
Right. And if I remember correctly, the little thing is called Red Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Wing.
Yeah.
And I think we got even a lot of a better look in it in the next movie that they were in, which is Civil War, which is basically about Bucky. Jesus, Bucky. Jesus.
Oh God.
You remember how we used to talk about Frodo and his friend? We was like, just kiss already, dude. Like, wasn't there like before Civil War came out? Wasn't there a big thing with Captain America and the Winter Soldier? Like they're supposed to be like lovers, that like people were like in the fans asking for it.
Oh yeah,
I was like, dude,
they're shipping it. They're shipping it. That's the I stand for it.
Like they're like Captain America misses him way too much.
He's my friend. All right.
But no, in all honesty, in Civil War, we got the whole use of Falcon that we've never seen before. In that scene in I believe it was South Africa or East Africa.
Yeah, it was like, what's the name of that place?
Lagos.
Yeah,
Lagos.
It was Lagos. Okay.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, the different ways that he used his suit, I've never seen, even in the comic books, was the use of it as a shield in front of him. Dude, oh my Lord. Or I think he put it even behind him one time while he was telling the Red Wing to do something behind him. Oh my Lord. So good, man.
Yeah.
And, I mean, listen, we all saw Civil War. Civil War, again, one of the top half of the MCU stories there. B, what was your favorite part of Civil War when it came to either Falcon or Bucky?
When they are in Germany towards the end of the movie, when they have the Avengers fight, that's the non-Avengers fight, and Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie are basically fighting Spider-Man at the same time. And this was a cool part for them. I liked them because they had great moments, especially when they met T'Challa, and they had that car chase in the beginning. But this was a cool moment for them because this was their first time, I think, without Cap and doing something without Cap. And they started joking around a bit, like, what's your gimmick when it comes to Spider-Man? Like, everyone's got a gimmick. And then, like, I forget it was Anthony Mackie or especially they do something that knocks out Spider-Man, and one of them's like, "Why didn't you do that at the start of this thing, man?"
He's like, "I hate you.
I hate you. I hate you too." That was great because that was the start of their interaction, without Cap, and I thought it was great.
No, listen. One of the starts of the interaction to me was when they were in the car and Sharon Carter was helping them out get their equipment.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was Captain America finally gave her a kiss, and the two of them were in the car, like. It was hilarious, man. So such a good scene, man. How about you, Al? Any moment stand out to you in Civil War? Because this is really the first time we get Bucky and Falcon, working together, kind of thing.
It was that scene like Brandon was just saying, the scene with where they both fought Spider-Man. Because you see them both, like, I don't think they were really trying to beat Spider-Man, but they were fighting him. And you see, Winter Soldier throw a punch and Spider-Man catches the arm and goes, "Oh my God, is that metal? That's cool." And then you see them going back and forth and like looking at each other like, why couldn't you handle it? Like each one of them was failing and they just kept looking at the other saying like, why couldn't you take him out? Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Meanwhile, they're both sitting there failing. So it was a good humorous interaction between them.
Yeah.
And it showed the dynamic that they could have and what I'm anticipating that they're going to have in the series. So that was my favorite part because like Brandon said, it was one of the few times you see them interacting on any kind of extended period of time without Cap.
Gotcha, man.
It was definitely a good time to watch.
Yeah, you know what? Another one of the scenes that they had before the Sharon Carter Captain America kiss was, they're both. I think the three of them were in this tiny little car as a getaway car, and Bucky's in the back seat. He goes to Falcon, "Can you move up?" He's like, "No." There's just a bunch of kids in the car, man. These are superheroes, and they're acting like a bunch of teenage like brothers. You know what I mean? Like it's just hilarious. Man. So I'm hoping that's the kind of like interaction that we get is just a continuation of this because it's hilarious, man. Look, even how many years later, and we're still laughing to it like we just saw it. So it's just insane, And in this movie, it's one of the great ones. So if you've never seen Captain America: Civil War, please just go watch it. It's absolutely amazing, and the story is fun. It's just phenomenal, and it ends with with this huge fight between Iron Man, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier, because at this point I believe Falcon gets arrested after the fight by the oh man, who's Hulk's bad guy there? I forgot General Ross. He gets captured by them for not following the Sokovia Accords there, and he's in the what's the big floating thing in the water there? The the rift, the raft. There it is. He's in jail in the raft there, and then we have Bucky going off with Captain America after all the fighting going on with Iron Man, and I think we leave off this one with Captain America bringing him to Wakanda to kind of heal up his arm and hopefully help out his mind with all the brainwashing that's been happening to him throughout these few years there, making him crazy. So that's where we leave off those guys from that movie. And then we get into the Infinity War movie where we get to see, this is where Steve Rogers, Falcon, Black Widow, they're kind of off on their own separate thing because they're, the Avengers have been disassembled after the Civil War. And, I think the entrance scene for Falcon, Captain, and Natasha in Infinity War is probably one of the great ones. We have them, I think it's Wanda and Vision being chased after by some of the Black Order, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, besides the train passing by with Captain America behind it, just, oh, Jesus, dude. One of the greatest scenes ever.
I want to know how long he was waiting there.
Like, just go get him. He's like, nope. Train's coming in 5 seconds.
The 9:47 is now delayed 10 minutes. I'm staying here for 10 minutes.
I need to make an entrance. Oh man, so Brandon, man, tell me about your thoughts on Infinity War with the two guys there, because they did have some great scenes in Infinity War. Again, that battle right there in that train station was absolutely amazing with Falcon, Black Widow, and Captain. So what's your
You,
thoughts?
I actually think that Falcon was underused in this one. Like, because he was there, but Cap did the thing, then Natasha did the thing, and Falcon just maybe had his machine gun. Like, that was really it. And so Falcon didn't really do much until the battle in Wakanda. And
Mhm.
even then, like, they showed less Falcon and more like him, like, just shooting with the machine gun, like a little bit, that tiny machine gun that he gets. Why you get a tiny machine gun like that? That's all he gets?
Well, he's gonna hide it.
Like, that's it. So I actually kind of felt bad for Falcon. Like, he didn't get much, before he got dusted.
Even War Machine told him to get out the way.
Yeah, like, that's really it.
You get your wings
Bucky, if
singed.
anything, Bucky obviously getting the arm when the war was coming to Wakanda, and then his interactions with Rocket, like basically the whole time was the two of them together. So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
I'm gonna get that arm.
Can I get the gun? No. Oh, I'm gonna take that arm. How much for the arm? I thought that was a cool interaction, especially like I love Infinity War because it did what I didn't think would happen so smoothly, and that's bringing together characters outside of the realm of like possible, and making them work together and talk with each other. Like, just anybody interacting with the Guardians of Galaxy alone, was outlandish to me. Like, I didn't think that could happen. And
Right.
so of all people, Bucky and Rocket to be the ones to like join up together and do their like Marvel Ultimate Alliance finisher move with them turning around with the guns. Like, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Al, how about yourself, man? Anything that stood out for you in Infinity War with those two characters?
Just for me, more of an unanswered question, because what Brandon brought it out, that this is when we see him after he had been healing in Wakanda, and they give him the arm. Like, I wanted to see what did they do, because I mean, I'm assuming it's made out of vibranium.
Vibranium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sure they put some kind of technology in there, but we never really get to see it, because in every battle scene that you see Winter Soldier in, he's just shooting that big machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yet never has any bullets to reload it with. So I don't know how he just kept shooting and shooting and shooting. Because it's just him and the gun. There's no like bag where you can see extra bullets and rounds or clips in. So I don't know how he kept reloading. But I want to it just leaves me. I'm hoping they address it maybe in a series. Like, what came new with this arm?
Right.
What abilities is this arm going to give him? Because I'd like to see. I'm assuming Shuri and them put something in there other than making it out of vibranium. So it'll be cool to see what comes with the arm. Maybe he has certain little gadgets now built into it, and he can complement Falcon with his gadgets coming out of the wings.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It should be interesting to see what they do with it, because I definitely think they're going to do something with the arm. There's got to be more to it than just, like you said, being vibranium. And unfortunately for these two guys, they did not make it out of Infinity War. They both dusted, which was kind of sucky for Captain, because those are his two best friends there. And they just disappear from Infinity War after the end of the snap. And it's just kind of like sad a little bit there, because you see the way that I think Bucky was kind of crawling over to Steve. He fades away. If I'm correct, Bucky was the first one to go. He looked at Captain and said, he called Captain's name, and then he just kind of like disappeared, right?
Fell.
And dusted, man. So just insane, man. But the next time we see these two characters is with the unsnapping.
That's what we're gonna call it now.
We're gonna call it the unsnapping. There you go. Right. And it's crazy because with Hulk doing the snap, we really didn't see anything happen, right? We kind of just saw the
birds,
the sun, the birds, the sun, and like 15,000 missiles. You
No,
know, but
I actually thought Ant-Man bit it. I was like, yo, they just killed Ant-Man.
dude, I
Like,
thought the same thing. There's no way he survived that.
How do you take 8 missiles to the face and just be like, ow? Like, he ain't
He
super
minimized
strong.
himself.
He didn't minimize nothing because that's fire.
Absolutely crazy. And then we get to the scene that made Brandon cry and makes Brandon cry still to this day. Is when we get Falcon coming back and the rest of the other Avengers that got snapped away. Brandon, what makes you cry, Brandon?
Yeah. On your left. I was like, he's on your left. He's on your left. Look.
It was just the static initially too that got me.
Yeah. Cap.
Yeah.
Cap, come in.
I was
It's
like,
absolutely nuts, man. And again, one of the greatest things about Avengers Endgame was all the callbacks. You know, everything that little lines, little things that happen in other movies were brought up again in this Avengers Endgame, like kind of like a thank you to all the fans who watched, because we're the ones that got all those little side things. Like
kudos to whoever watched 10, 12 years worth of movies and like got all these little things and just kept like, okay, we got to bring that up again. That was so many. They got all of them.
Yeah, you know, the on your left thing is just again from Winter Soldier, from running in the beginning of the movie. On your left, you know, just great stuff, man. You know, and in the battle, there's a couple of scenes where they stood out. You know, I remember seeing Falcon fight one of the big monsters by putting his wings inside of the guy's chest, if I remember correctly. I don't really recall. I know Bucky definitely had a scene or two, but I just can't think of what he did in the end game at the moment. Do any of you guys, Al, do you have any?
I think he met up with Rocket Raccoon again, actually. I'm gonna take that
just
arm.
same thing. I just remember him with the gun. That's it.
He came back with the gun.
Yeah, no real special memories, man, of Bucky. Like I said, vaguely remember Falcon putting his wings inside of a monster there, but basically at the end, we all know what happens. Tony Stark saves the world there with the snap again, getting rid of Thanos and his army. And this is where we get towards where we're going to with this, you know, Disney Plus series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is at the end of the movie there. One of the scenes before the actual end credits there's I believe it's Steve Rogers, Hulk, Falcon, Bucky standing on a time portal that they're going to send Steve back with the suitcase of the Infinity Gems plus Thor's hammer. And it looks like Bucky is in on this secret that Cap's not coming back. He just looks at him like, yeah, I know what you're about to do.
Yeah.
You know, and sure enough, but it doesn't seem like Falcon knows what's going on, because he's like, you know, yelling at Hulk to bring him back, and he can't. And it's not because he can't. It's Steve didn't want to come back, obviously. And then one of the most weirdest time relevant part, which is old Steve shows up, which I don't know if that means he saw everything and didn't just. Did he live out all of this stuff watching it and just watched it, or was he somehow there? Your past is your future is your past. It already happened. Something Hulk. that whole time travel theories there in Endgame was a little weird, but you know, in the end, Al, we get Falcon approaching Steve because Bucky looks like he knows that's Steve. He doesn't want to give the shield to Bucky. He wants to give the shield to Falcon for some reason. You know, what was your thoughts on that? Because you know, out of the two, I did kind of hope Falcon would get it. But how about yourself, man? Did you want Falcon to get that shield, or do you think Bucky deserved it more? Or what was your thought on that whole scene there?
I guess in a way I could have gone either way, but initially at the time, I was feeling that it should have gone to Bucky, only because they had the longer history together.
Right.
He has more of the abilities that you would associate with Captain America than you would with Falcon, than you do with Falcon. Falcon, I mean, has his abilities, but his abilities come from that wing. Bucky had the strength, he had the endurance, the ability to speed. So, and when everything was going down, I just thought he would have passed that on to Bucky instead of Falcon. But either way, they both embodied everything that Cap embodied. So it was going to be a win no matter who he gave the shield to.
Right.
So yeah, in reality, I didn't care who ended up with it. They both deserved it, and I thought they both would have done it or would do a good job with it. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, the reason I think I thought about Falcon a lot was because at the time period, I think they had came out with the comic book that Falcon was the new Captain America. So I kind of was seeing the images already with him with the white, blue, and the red, the visor there with the shield as well. I've seen it, and I thought it looked good. I thought it would mean something more if it was him that had it. But I also
mm,
thought of it the way some of the fans were saying, because they thought that in some sense, because of the things that Winter Soldier did, Tony Stark's parents, probably murders that we'd never seen before, um, that almost Falcon was more pure, more, I guess, a better person to receive the shield. Where do you fall on that, on Brandon, with the shield there? Who got it?
I mean, I feel like that's something that actually hasn't been answered yet. I feel like even though Cap gave Falcon the shield,
Right.
and I agree. I think because of, and I think this is a thing that Bucky and Cap both know, is because of Bucky's past. Like, he shouldn't be the one to represent it because he can't. Um, but I feel like the shield thing is going to come back into play
Hmm.
in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
Gotcha. Absolutely,
mm,
man. And I mean, that right there leads us into the show. And the one other aspect that leads us into the show also that hasn't been brought up is one of the villains in this show. We're not sure if it's the main villain or it's going to be the villain of the show, is Baron Zemo, who also had his feature in the Civil War
Civil War.
movie. Now, in Civil War, he really didn't have much of a role. It seemed like everything that he did was like just little things to kind of egg on the process of the Avengers breaking up kind of thing. But there was a lot of
mm.
stuff in there that, you know, he first of all, the first time I saw Civil War, he psyched me out. I thought there was going to be a full-on battle of 6 super soldiers with Bucky, Iron Man, and Winter Soldier. Little did I know that the
Yeah.
main villain of the movie was a cassette tape. So, you know, that was kind of crazy, but it also was a complete shock and wow factor in the movie theater. Like, my movie theater lost it when that videotape
Yeah.
played. But with Baron Zemo, he tried to take himself out actually before Black Panther came up and put his hands on the gun there to stop him from committing suicide. You know, and at the end of if I remember
We
correctly,
are
at the
not
end of
done with
Civil
you
War, yeah, not done with you yet. Uh, he was arrested inside of that little cage that they had the Winter Soldier in. So I mean, do you guys know anything about, like, maybe in the comic books or from what you've seen, like, this guy gets out?
I mean, I'm under the assumption that, because this happened in Civil War, something happens during the initial snap that maybe Baron Zemo doesn't disappear, maybe Everett Ross does, or
Mhm.
something happens that he gets let out of that, you
Yeah.
know? So, because everything is crazy and no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So, or maybe because the blip, maybe he did get blipped and they ended up moving the thing, and so when he came back, he wasn't in the cage anymore.
Ah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Because like that's
You,
like the people on the planes, like when they said that people were in planes, they blipped, they just landed on the ground,
Mm.
safely. So like I'm
mm.
assuming maybe someone moved the thing because he wasn't in it, and then when they blipped happened, he showed up back and he wasn't in the cage anymore.
Mm. How about you? What's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, that would be one that makes the most sense. That if they're going to play it out was that because remember 5 years passes, so where he was in jail in a prison cell, he blips in the 5 years since there's no more need for maybe that location to be a prison. It's just maybe an abandoned facility, and he comes back, so he's able to just walk out, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, But the only thing that with his character in terms of the show that amuses me, and I want to see how they address it, he never once wears a mask in the movies. Yet in
Uh,
the series, he's going to be wearing a purple mask. Now I know he wears it in the comic, but how do they justify and explain why all of a sudden he's trying to hide what he looks like when everybody
right.
already knows who you are?
Yeah. You want to hear this theory that they were running around on the internet? Is that he wants the Avengers to feel bad about Thanos, and he wants to remind them, so he's wearing a purple mask that looks like Thanos' face.
So he looked like
I'm like,
Grimace.
Like, you guys are trying really hard, internet. Like,
That's a reach. Yeah.
that's a reach. But listen, man, I mean, Marvel has done so good with everything. Even, we just watched WandaVision for the last 9 weeks, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. Al, what's your expectations for Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Is there something that you want to see happen, or is this just something like another story you just want to be told?
That's just that. Like, if it's going to tie into the movies and the next phases,
Hmm.
I want to see how they do that. But more so, also, I want to see if they have to change anything in it, because I was remembering WandaVision was supposed to be the last of these series.
Hmm.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first one. They were supposed to really be setting off these series of
Right.
shows in terms of timeline. So
Supposed to be
the
right
fact that
after
they're now,
Black Widow.
yeah, so the fact that they're actually following WandaVision, both not only in on the on the channel, but also in terms of sequence, um, did they have to change anything in order to make sense that they're following WandaVision instead of that they're setting up WandaVision? Like,
Right.
is there something here that would kind of allude to WandaVision since it was supposed to have been released first? So I like that. I want to see, did they have to change anything to remove those references, or
Right.
that set up, and now they have to set something else up. So just that is one of the things I'm going in to see, if they do, and how they handle it.
Yeah. And I think personally for me, I've learned my lesson with WandaVision not to expect too much, just to expect the story itself. I mean, we could
Yeah.
already see in the commercials, we got the US agent in there. It looks like we got Baron Zemo. We may have another couple villains in there that look like, I believe they said they are the Flag Smashers or something like that, which
Yeah.
is the group that the girl has the mask of with the looks like a handprint
Oh,
or
okay.
red
Oh,
stripes.
so it's not the hand.
It's not the hand there. It's like some flag
Ah,
smashers or something
ah.
like that. But I'm not gonna overthink a lot of it because I think they're not gonna do anything too crazy with these Disney Plus shows that'll make the movies like not understandable for people who don't watch these Disney Plus shows. So my expectations will be in check, people. I will not say Mephisto's coming again. So, I think what it is exactly what it is we're gonna see. Maybe a good story about the super soldier serum, maybe a good story with just Baron Zemo messing with them. We'll see what comes of it. But how about for you, Brandon? Are
Yeah.
you having any expectations to see certain things or something that you
No.
want to see?
I
No, I'm
don't want to
done.
expect anything. I just want to watch it and just don't make anything up in my head.
Good luck. Oh my God. Yeah, man. So listen, we're gonna be reviewing each episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier when they come out. The movies are really tight, guys. That's not too many movies out there that are worth discussing. So it's pretty much
Mhm.
MCU's holding us down in the meantime. So we'll hold it down with them and go over the episode. The first episode comes out this Friday, and come back to us next week when we talk about the first episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier, what we thoughts and Brandon's theories.
Oh no. No.
Awesome, man. And then really quick, the last thing we'll do here is kind of get you ready for Snyder's Cut. I was going back and forth whether we should talk about it or not because it's kind of its own little separate thing allegedly. But
Mhm.
I've heard so much good stuff so far about it. Online it's being reviewed as a great 4-hour thing that's showing a lot
Mhm.
more detail, a lot more story to the background of the characters and everything. So it's definitely gonna be worth a watch for Snyder's Cut Justice League. Um, just really quick, Brandon, what do you recall from Man of Steel? Because I believe Man of Steel and Batman v Superman were the only two movies before that Justice League movie, right? So
Yes.
what's your recollection of Man of Steel with Superman? Just
I loved Man of Steel. I was a
yeah,
huge fan when like nobody was on board with it. I love that movie. I thought it was great. I think it was one of my favorite tellings of the story, and I think we talk about this a lot. Like I love the
yeah,
representation of Pa Kent. I
yeah,
love the way he brought himself up. Like it wasn't like the prosperous story. Like it wasn't the I grew up and I knew I was gonna be Superman thing. Like it was I
yeah,
hate myself and all that. And generally love the story from the start to finish, even as it ended in the big fight in Metropolis with him versus General Zod. By the way, I forget his name. Is it? who played General Zod.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon. He was great. He was
Yeah.
so good. Up until when he snapped his neck, like
We will find him.
we will find him. I thought that movie was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, me too,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
one of my favorites, man. And man, for you, man, Batman v Superman, man. I mean, we went to Connecticut to go see this bad boy. What was your thoughts on that, man?
I thought they did a good job in terms of explaining why Batman had such animosity towards Superman. Because that was the one thing I remember wanting to know leading up to the movie was what was Batman's issue? Like, here's Superman, he's
What fucking
saving the
man?
world, he's being a good guy. What the hell could Batman have a problem with? So it was good seeing that point of view because I didn't think of it. Like, Batman is a man of the earth, and to see this, so to speak, alien come in and just destroy shit because he's got a personal beef. I never thought of it that way. And
Right.
to see them play that out and keep the movie dark,
Hmm.
keep it with a more serious tone, but to still have it where at the end they team up. Granted, I thought it was the flimsiest of reasons to give them to finally have them team up and stop and pause their fighting. But I thought it was I
Why do
thought
you know
both
that
movies
name?
were great. Oh my God. So, but the movies was good. I like the way they made it so that Batman made kryptonite weapons, but that they still didn't make it so that he could easily defeat Superman. Like he had to keep using the weapons because Superman would eventually get his strength back. Like the way they played out that dynamic and the sequence to me led to, for lack of a better word, the credibility of the movie and
Mm.
kept it in that reality base that they seem to be wanting to keep it in, kind of along the lines of Batman Begins, where these are heroes in our actual world, like not in some imaginary world where, okay, we have to have a leap of faith in order to believe this stuff. Like, what if these people really were in our world? And
Right.
I like that take. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I love Man of Steel and I love Batman v Superman. I thought they were great movies when I saw them the first time in the theaters. I get that there's a lot of critical thoughts on those two movies, but they were still good. And I'm looking forward to Snyder's Cut because I don't know if a lot of people know the story for why Snyder Cut didn't finish Justice League, but he had had an unfortunate incident that happened with one of his children, and that's the reason why
Yeah.
he didn't finish the movie. So in the middle of him making this movie, this situation happened. If I'm correct, I believe his child committed suicide. And he stopped making the movie. Absolutely justified.
Yeah.
Now,
Understand.
having someone else come in to finish off the movie he was making, that kind of hurts and kind of sucks. And I understand that they didn't like the direction where he was taking the movie. The movies that he had made weren't making as much money as they thought they would make because they're looking at the MCU bringing $1 billion per movie, and here these movies are making 500,000, 600,000. They were expecting a lot more, but they got Joss Whedon to come in and finish off Justice League and kind of put his twist on it, his humor on it, and stuff like that. But in what happened to Zack Snyder there, I do appreciate that he still wanted to finish his thought, his story. So to see it
Mhm.
in its completion is something that I do want to see. And again, the reviews apparently out there are that it's great. It is super long, 4 hours long. There's also that, again, we've talked about this before, the benefit of the second time. We already
Mhm.
saw the first Justice League and it got killed, so of course he's going to do everything that we didn't like. He's going to undo it, and give more backstory. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And of course, we'll review it next week, let you know what we thought of the first part of this. I believe it's going to be 1 hour every week for the next 4 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to talk about what's going on in this Justice League.
Mhm.
So it's going to be great, man. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, are you guys expecting anything to be different or see something that's amazing? Like, Brandon, are you hoping for Green Lantern in this, or
I don't want to get my hopes up. I've been
don't make it
hurt
hurt?
too many times before. I mean, I'd love to see Green Lantern. I honestly I would love, as many trailers have shown me Darkseid, I would love to see Darkseid in this. I know he's not going to have a huge role in this, but I'd love to see what their idea behind Darkseid is, especially if this is a one-off as it supposedly is.
They
You know,
know.
I don't think there's any chance in hell this is, but that also means that we have to wait like 4 more years for another one. So I like the idea of seeing Darkseid now and kind of getting the idea that I wanted to see happen with the first time.
Absolutely, man. And how about you, Al? Are you looking forward to anything in particular with the Snyder Cut?
Just the going back to the seriousness that he was bringing with Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. Um, because the actual Justice League movie that we got, to me, was it was like too bright, for lack of, for I don't have a better way of saying it, compared to the two movies that supposedly preceded it.
Right.
So, and then you didn't flush out all the characters. So I want to see the deeper story behind Cyborg. I want to see, because they showed a lot of there was a lot of depth that looked to be there with the character in terms of his struggle with who he was and what he had become after everything happened to him, and the drama that comes with that. And they never really delved into it with the version of Justice League that came out. So to know that he's going to get a full backstory and something that flushes a lot of that character out, that's his is one of the bigger parts of the story I'm looking to see and see how they handle.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. We're all looking forward to the Snyder Cut there. Again, that comes out this Thursday of this week. So you guys know next week when we talk about these, movies, that's what we're gonna talk about. We'll talk about Snyder's Cut and that Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So definitely come back next week. Subscribe, follow, on the podcast, hit that little plus symbol so we come back for you guys next week. If you're on YouTube, little subscribe button on below. And we'll be talking about this next week. In the next few weeks, we'll be talking about these two definite shows for the next couple of weeks there. So this is going to be our podcast for tonight. And I thank you fellas, as always, for joining us. Alan B, thank you so much for today, man. And coming in from Long Island, New York, we're saying good night. We got my brother B.
Adios.
We got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
And myself, Hobbs, saying thank you as always, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, any questions, comments, send it to thereelfanreview@gmail.com, REEL Real, and let us know your thoughts. We'll see you on the next episode, Falcon and Winter Soldier time. Till next time.